Good morning. Our chalice lighting words today are from Denise Levertov. As swimmers dare to lie face to the sky, and water bears them, as hawks rest upon air, and air sustains them, so would I learn to attain free fall and float into Creator Spirit's deep embrace, knowing no effort earns that all-surrounding grace. As we light our chalice this morning, let us find peace in this moment and with this gathered community of souls. Hello, my name is Lois Phillips, and my pronouns are she and her. Our church shares a covenant that we make with one another, a promise that helps to remind us of why we gather and how we want to be with one another. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our covenant together. We unite to strengthen bonds of kinship among all persons, to promote human dignity and increase reverence for life's creating, sustaining, and transforming power through worship, study, and service. And if you would remain standing, we will sing our opening hymn, number 83, Winds Be Still.
To worship this morning is by Mark Bellatini. Let the difficulties of the week take their Sabbath now, their brief and simple rest. Let the worries of the week ahead lay their heft gently down onto the dark earth below this carpeted floor, which can bear them with greater ease than any one of us can by ourselves. Let the tangle of feelings that pull and push from these last 7 days sit still for a moment, stop writhing in my heart, and move no more than a Buddha at rest under a tree. Let there be stillness in my heart for just a minute, the balancing point between breathing in and breathing out, like the pause of a dancer between movements in the music. Let breathing in this room be free and flowing. Let pulses trance to a slower rhythm in the wrist. Let the coming silence be like hands pulling back a curtain, revealing the table set with the feast of life, which is present here and now, and has been the whole while. Present to those who give up, either living in the past or in the future, and stay right here in this present. Good morning, all. I'm Reverend Pam Rumancik, co-minister of this church with Reverend Karen Mooney. I'm a queer, cisgendered woman whose pronouns are she and hers, and I'm so grateful to be here with you this morning. I'm also the mother of a daughter who lives out in Portland and has been seeing all the people dress up as frogs in the past few weeks. Our hearts are with them. I'm glad to spend some time with you this morning away from the chaos of the outside world. Here, our community takes the time to examine what is really important and to hold up the value and the power of love. Whoever you are, whatever identities you hold, you are welcome here. And now, we invite our young and young at heart up for our Wonder Box. A squirrel. We'll see. Let's give it a few minutes just to think. On this morning, Reverend Karen's got a story about looking at ourselves, about examining and wondering, about Okay, William. Something. The ever-present guess, even when Xander's not here. Good. How about you, Benji? A frog? A fire alarm? That's a good guess. Oh, yes. Fire alarm. Good guess. Yes, Nora. A peace bowl. That's also a very good guess. How about you? Do you have a guess? No? Something. Okay. Is she?
Right here. The snake would have bitten me. If it was a snake, it would have bitten me. Emmy, do you want to open up the box? Nora, we're gonna let Emmy, because this is her first time up here. What is it? It's a mirror. Yeah. So you can close the box. So here's the funny thing about mirrors. So today we're going to talk about somebody named James Cavendish. He was born on October 10th. I'm going to sit in this chair with this very, very fancy, very colorful thing. How about that? Oh, here we go. He studied the world that he lived in. He loved looking at things and trying to figure everything out. You know, have you ever done that? Like looking in this mirror. How the heck does this work? Why can you see yourself? I know there's good reasons why, and William could give us a 20-minute lecture on how that works. So afterwards, I totally encourage you to talk to William and ask how mirrors work, okay? Thank you. But I remember staring in a mirror and thinking, what the heck is that, right? So he studied all kinds of things, but the thing that he was most interested in was measuring things that had to do with air, just the air that's around us. And he would look and he'd say, how do you measure the air? Does it weigh something? And he found out that the air actually weighs something. And he looked at it and he said, well, what is in the air, right? Have you ever thought about that? What's in the air? What makes me be able to smell something? Good is cooking in the kitchen, right? Have you ever thought about that? Yeah. So he went and he measured stuff in the air, and what he did was he realized that if he dumped something into water, he could make something that looked like air because it bubbled up and came up and escaped, right? So he looked and he said, well, why when I add something into water am I getting air? And he captured some of those bubbles, and do you know what he found out? Those bubbles, when he mixed them with fire, would burn. He didn't know what it was that was in there, but when they went and they burned, they also made another little drop of what? Water. Oh my gosh! Water could separate into something that went when you added fire to it, and then it would become water again. Right? And he was like, how does this work? I don't understand it, like so much of our lives, right? And so he studied all of these things. And so one of the things that he did was he looked at air and he said, well, you know, if I take this mirror and I blow on it, what happens? Yeah, a little bit of air comes on it. Can you blow on it and see if it does that for you too? Look at that. See? It's a little bit of water that is condensed on this mirror. So Henry taught us all. He lived a long, long time ago in England, but one of the things that he taught us was to be curious. What do you think about that? What do you think he also helped us to know? How air works, and how to measure things, and how to look at things that are happening around us to be able to see beyond what the easy answers are into some of the answers that might be more difficult to find, because sometimes it takes hanging on a mirror to be able to see where water can come from, not just where it is. Okay, so we're going to celebrate Henry Cavendish and many other Unitarians today by going out back and learning a little bit more about what it means to be a Unitarian. So, if you can sing the kids out, we will have a great time. Thank you all.
I'd like to invite Yvette Johnson and some guests today that are going to talk about today's Share the Plate collection. So come on up, Yvette.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. First of all, come on over, Dave. I'd like to introduce you all to Dave Crockett. He is a member of Third Unitarian Church in Austin, the neighborhood, one of the poor neighborhoods in Chicago, a sister church of ours. And for 51 years, I'd like to also introduce you to the co-founder of the Austin Scholars Program. Don't stand. It's Roberta Wilson. Roberta, give him a big wave. 98 years old, and I'm going to give it over to Dave in just a few minutes. A good friend of mine goes to Third U, and when we get together, we don't talk about Unitarianism. So anyway, so she said one day that, we have our scholars program, our Austin Scholars Program. I said, what is that? And she said, our church provides scholarships to high school seniors who must live in Austin, can go to school in some of the surrounding high schools, some of the other Chicago public high schools, but they must live in Austin. And Third U started a scholarship program, and they need our help. They're a sister church. They've partnered with other churches, and a $1,500 scholarship is a darn good start for somebody entering sophomore year, but then they'll need a little bit more sophomore year, and if it's a 2-year college, great. If it's a 4-year college, great. But these are some of the students who have had to work themselves to the bone to get where they are. And Third U is doing something to help them out. And now I'd like to introduce Dave Crockett, professor, UIC, and a strong member of the Austin Scholars Program at the Third Unitarian Church.
Thank you all so much for having us today. We certainly appreciate your hospitality. I've been a Unitarian Universalist. I joined the UU congregation of Columbia, South Carolina in 2003, and it didn't take long to recognize that no matter where you are a practicing Unitarian Universalist, you cannot have two sermons on the same Sunday. That much I know. So I won't keep you very long. I just want to first of all thank you for I want. Oh, that's okay. I do want to thank you again for having us as your share to plate. I will say a few words about Austin Scholars. And you did such a great job. I don't have to say much. But again, 51 years ago, Reverend Don Wheat, from our historian, Roberta Wilson, has told me that Reverend Wheat said, if we won't be worth a thing unless we do something for the young people in this community. And you know, I work on a college campus. The kind of money that we give them, it maybe covers a good portion of their books. Each semester. I see some heads nodding, so some of you all know that life. But we are, we're helping where we can, but I think more importantly, what we are doing is we are trying to establish both a duty and a network of care. And we want to invite you all to join us in that. It seems like I read somewhere that we unite to strengthen the bonds of kinship among all persons. So we want to continue to give everyone the opportunity to do that. And so with that, we'll turn it back over and say again, thank you all so much.
And now for the Share the Plate. Thank you.
into that space that has been so beautifully created, I invite you to just settle into your chairs, to put your feet flat on the ground, to take a breath in, and then a releasing, exhaling breath out. This morning, either we're thinking about our bodies, and so you can either do this as an imagination in your head, or you can do it in your body. We're thinking about everything we're carrying. And imagine stretching your arm out, holding all the things you're carrying right now. Just holding that arm out in front of you. Imagine what it feels like if you hold it out for 30 seconds, or maybe a minute. What does it feel like if you hold it for 60 minutes? What does that arm feel like if you keep holding it out, even if there's nothing but air resting on your hand, for 24 hours? Would your arm even work anymore? But simultaneously, while you're holding your hand out, you're also holding a beach ball underwater. You're balancing a beach ball underwater. You're holding down something that wants to burst to the surface. And the same thing, you're holding it down, you're holding it down. And most of the time you can do it even with your arm getting tired until somebody bumps you and that ball splashes up and splashes all over everything. You can put your hands down in your mind or in your bodies. That represents so much stress we're carrying in our bodies these days. All the things that we don't know the answers to, all of the possibilities, all of the scary things that might happen and might not, all the ambiguity. And at the same time, we're holding down maybe those emotions. Maybe if we were holding all that ambiguity, what we'd want to do is go running, screaming through the narthex. But we're not allowed, so we hold those emotions down. So right now, our bodies are trying to balance all of these things. The holding on of stress, the holding down of emotions, and that can be exhausting, simply exhausting. So this morning we're going to talk about how we might release our hand, release the beach ball. Allow whatever is being felt in our bodies to come to the surface, to be shared, to be dissipated, so that we can see the sunshine, see the blue sky, remember our place on this green earth, and remember that we do not have to carry all of it every moment. Breathe in right now. And as you exhale, that moisture on your breath, let it carry out every single thing that you want to release into the world around you. Release every bit. Let your shoulders drop, your bodies relax. And from that space of being grounded in this rich, deep earth, we're going to remember the joys and concerns which we've heard this week within our congregation. We heard from Lois and Jeff Phillips that their only grandson, Sam Cohn, celebrated his first birthday on October 5th. Yay, Sam. And also Lois's cousin Robbie, who recently suffered a broken femur, is up and out of bed for the first time in 11 days. Yay, let the healing begin. Our hearts go out this morning to Ryan Shefkis and his family. Ryan continues to have retinal issues, first in one eye and then the other. He's had multiple laser surgeries just this past week, as doctors do everything possible to save his sight. So we are sending so much love and healing energy to Ryan and to his family who walk with him through this time. We also learned that Bob Spielman was in surgery for his toe last Friday, which was his birthday. Not fair. We hope that it all went very well and that Bob recovers quickly and finally gets to celebrate his birthday. We send him love and care from this congregation for that healing. Huge thanks. Oh no. I want to say thank you. It's a mystery. Somebody left a bag on my office door with a whole bunch of Josh Johnson merchandise in it. So I have a little Josh Johnson pin and stickers and all kinds of fun things. So whoever did that, thank you. And then Bailey Pierce wrote, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the 14 individuals who participated in recording CCUU testimonial videos during this last week's potluck. Sharing these stories on our online platforms is a great way to spread the word about the great things happening here at CCUU. She writes, huge thanks especially to Nancy Frank and Barb Perry for recruiting participants. So keep an eye out in the coming months to look for these videos and share them on social media. Thank you for all the wonderful stories shared. For these and all of the other intentions which might rest in the silent parts of our hearts, know that you are held, you are loved, you are not alone. And also, a final thank you to our beautiful musicians this morning. Please remain seated as we sing Spirit of Life.
Our first reading today is, what is grief exhaustion? Grief exhaustion refers to the deep and pervasive fatigue that often accompanies the grieving process following the loss of a loved one. It goes beyond the typical tiredness we experience in our daily lives and stems from the immense emotional and psychological strain that grief places upon us. When we mourn, our entire being is affected, and the resulting grief can manifest as physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. Feeling exhausted all the time may make you want more sleep. And yet, even though you're feeling tired, you may have trouble sleeping. Trying to fall asleep when you feel tired can make you wonder if your normal sleep patterns will ever return. Grief exhaustion can leave you feeling drained, both physically and mentally, making even the simplest tasks seem overwhelming. Even our normal everyday activities may feel like too much, with our physical body refusing to cooperate. You may even feel so exhausted that you worry about whether you have mental health conditions. However, this grief fog you're in will eventually lift. Until then, it's important to recognize and remember that your grief journey may bring exhaustion, and your physical and mental exhaustion may require a distinct approach to self-care and healing. By acknowledging and addressing your exhaustion, you can better navigate the grieving process and eventually restore your energy and well-being. Thus ends the reading. Well, that was calming, wasn't it? I love that. So our next reading is from Rest is Resistance, a Manifesto by Tricia Hersey. The Rest is Resistance framework also does not believe in the toxic idea that we are resting to recharge and rejuvenate so we can be prepared to give more output to capitalism. What we have internalized as productivity has been informed by a capitalist, ableist, patriarchal system. Our drive and obsession to always be in a state of productivity leads us to the path of exhaustion, guilt, and shame. We falsely believe we are not doing enough and that we must always be guiding our lives toward more labor. The distinction that must be repeated as many times as necessary is this: we are not resting to be productive. We are resting simply because it is our divine right to do so. Thus ends the reading.
Are any of you all tired these days? Exhausted from keeping up with the demands of just ordinary life, now swamped with those lovely complications of maybe rising authoritarianism and ICE raids, general sense of doom? Do you feel like there's no time or energy in your life? Or maybe you're lonely. Maybe you've worked and you've retired, but all the people you love are still in the midst of their working lives, and so they're running and busy and so trying to get things done that you barely have time to see them. Maybe you're like me, always optimistically thinking that as soon as I get X, Y, or Z done, then I'm going to have time and be caught up. Hee hee hee. There's always an alphabet soup of new things to do, new obligations that come up, new things that next week will be right back on that list. Just the other day, I tried to make appointments for some routine screening procedures because my chart had been nagging me for quite some time that they were overdue. I was overdue for a colonoscopy, and it claimed a mammogram. I had a few moments off on my day off, so I thought, okay, I'll get this scheduled, right? One thing led to another, one call led to another, one call sent me here, another sent me there. I had to look things up online, and eventually it came to, I got a call back that now I have to wait till Monday to call somebody else, and then maybe it will be scheduled. So something that should have been one tick off my to-do list ends up being 4 days. And that's just making a stupid doctor's appointment. And if this was an isolated incident, no biggie. We could all get over that. But we all know it's not. Every single simple thing we try to do ends up being mired in left turns, in two-step verifications, in CAPTCHA puzzles, which sometimes defy all logic, and in delays because of some obscure detail that we needed to know before we started the process, but we didn't even know how to find. Things are broken. My heart, my body is weary. I am grieving a time in my life when everything didn't seem broken. Do y'all remember that? There was a time when you could just call your doctor's appointment and call your doctor and make an appointment. A few years ago, my daughter, actually the one that lives in Portland, shared me, I think it was an Instagram, about this woman who had something called the Nap Ministry. And the quote she shared said, "I want to mourn and lament and realize this culture is not set up with systems of care to allow others to stop long enough to rest." Something in those words really caught hold with me. Our culture is not set up to allow others to stop and rest. We are encouraged to go, 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 to be productive, to do it every waking moment. Our value comes from what we produce, not who we are or how we're connected into one another. And it's exhausting. We are caught in a spiral of being expected to produce more and then more and then more within a system that is never satisfied. It's kind of an addiction. If we just work a little bit harder, we'll catch up. But the goalposts are constantly being moved. We can recognize it as the Protestant work ethic on steroids, having somehow become a moral imperative to be always busy. Now, our pilgrim ancestors did solemnly intone, "Idle hands are the devil's playthings." But we have to ask, who does that mindset serve? Who benefits from endless productivity? As this world goes crunchier and busier and more insane each day, it's not most of us living in the U.S. Because other cultures value relationship and community more than we do. The standard vacation allotment in the EU is 6 weeks. Here you're lucky if you get 2, and many hourly jobs get no paid time off at all. Just work till you drop. You may not be surprised to learn that much of this ethic is rooted in America's original sin, slavery, the enslavement of human beings for profit. Because part of the rationale for enslaving African people was that they were lazy and indolent, unable to care for themselves. So forcing people to work with whips and dogs wasn't stealing wealth from their labor. It was saving their souls, because God loves hard workers. Well, God and plantation owners. Convenient, no? Even today, the image painted by Ronald Reagan of the welfare queen, who of course is black, is behind a white majority's resistance to ensure every citizen has health care, every citizen has a safety net for when things go bad. Funding for Medicaid and WIC, which is for women and children, and SNAP, which used to be called food stamps, all those programs have been cut under the current administration because of the myth that mostly black and brown people use them when an awful lot more white people are actually affected. But you know what? If they need it, they're just lazy, right? Doesn't matter if all the manufacturing jobs have been outsourced. It doesn't matter if the government created whole legacies of poverty by redlining, by dividing healthy black neighborhoods with highways, by creating unequal funding for schools to maintain segregation, even if long after it was illegal. Poor people deserve their lot because they just don't work hard enough. By that faulty reasoning, ends up harming everybody. By ascribing laziness to those least respected, to Appalachians, to immigrants, to black and brown people, each of us has to work harder and harder and harder to prove that no, we do matter. We do deserve respect. It's a stupid catch-22. And the ridiculous thing is how backwards the reality is from what we're told all this time. Because the average CEO of a Fortune 500 company earns more in an hour than the average worker earns in a whole year. An article in Forbes magazine says the average pay gap of the low-wage 100 widened to 632 to 1 in 2024, with CEOs raking in an average pay of $17.2 million a year, while average median worker pay stood at $35,000. Is that mind-boggling? How could anybody in the world be worth $17.2 million in 1 year, while the guy that's actually doing the work gets nothing? Can't even pay their mortgage. I'm sure everybody here knows 1 or 2 people that are working 1, 2, 3 jobs while caring for their children and aging parents and trying to find some sliver of a life in the midst of all of that. The folks working on our lawns and cleaning our houses and taking care of our children, our elder, all the most important things in the world. Picking our crops. They do hard physical labor day in and day out and are poor, but are certainly not lazy. But somehow we've been sold a myth equating wealth with industriousness and poverty with laziness. Very convenient for those at the top of that pyramid. This past century, productivity has been the holy grail that everybody's reaching for, trying to wring every last ounce out of every minute. And they are wringing every tiny shred of humanity out in the process. Human beings' fingers are ripped off regularly in chicken processing plants so we can have cheap poultry in our grocery stores. Money, more and more and more of it, is the ultimate guide to everything, right? We are a people rushing madly forward and being driven by an ethic that benefits a small minority, but doesn't bring health or well-being to our society or to the world at large. And where does it all come from? The designers of our capitalist system did not value black bodies, deeming them less important than their own acquisition of wealth. And over time, that devaluation of human beingness continued to expand. Today, our society doesn't value most bodies, making each and every one of us a cog in a system constantly shifting wealth up to a privileged few. Bell Hooks says that we are complicit when not articulating and standing for our values. She writes, the absence of a sustained focus on love in progressive circles arises from a collective failure to acknowledge the needs of the spirit. Without love, our efforts to liberate ourselves and our community from oppression are doomed. End quote. This warped system can make elders, our amazing people with accumulated wisdom, feel like they don't matter at all. It makes any person who's not contributing in a quantifiable way not matter. You know, even those helping professions who were indispensable and were called essential workers during the pandemic still never really earned a decent wage, did they? The bus drivers showed up every freaking day, but they're not making a ton of money, are they? They're certainly not making $17.2 million. Tricia Hersey says, it's time we all say stop. She began preaching a message of pause, of rest, of making your space in your life to remember. She's an artist, and she started out by creating dreamscape and napping installations in the early 2010s, making spaces with beds and poetry readings and soft music where people could just stop and take a rest. I did think about giving the sermon from the rocking chair, and then thought, nah, you won't be able to hear me. She said, people came to rest with her, and they knew that something was not right, but they couldn't figure out what it was. And her answer is we all need to just stop, to make space to rest. We are currently grieving so many losses. The changing climate, our eroding democracy, virulent and growing racism, partisanship, all of those things, all of those griefs take tremendous energy. Many grieve the America that we grew up in before fascist assaults on democracy and due process. Many grieve the America we thought existed but never actually did. Some of us grieve lost hopes and plans, lost people, lost spaciousness, lost ability to do things we used to do. Many of us want to just pick up the phone, call and talk to a real person, and get your damn mammogram scheduled. We're exhausted by all that doesn't work, by everything that feels like it's slipping away, by hopes and dreams that we're afraid we might not be able to hold on to anymore. So maybe we all need to agree to take a pause, to find all our places of connection with one another, to understand that rushing to participate in the system is never going to change the system. So first we need to stop being complicit in it. Stop wearing busyness as a badge of honor and begin reclaiming love as our highest value. As Unitarian Universalists, we do claim that love is at the center. It's the redesign of our new 7 principles. I confess I don't like it very much because most of the words are more suited to a college textbook than a faith statement of faith, but I love love at the center because that's exactly what we need, isn't it? We need to remember love. It's what's important. Love of self. Each of us is valuable in our own right. Love of neighbor. with the acknowledgement that our neighbors can be very different from us, and they can still even value things differently from us, and we still respect them and honor them and stand up for their abilities to exist in the world. And love of the world, so that we all can share an ethic of care for our interconnected web of being and stop exploiting all the world's and the earth's resources. As a church, what would that look like? What would it look like to actually, if we actually use love at the center when we made our decisions about what to do here? It might look like using a building we own to create Chalice House that creates a safe space for people who need it. Yay, y'all did that. It might look like burning the prairie outside here, raising the money to be able to do that, to restore habitat for pollinators and wildlife. Yay, did that. It might look like putting our overworked families and children first when creating our budgets, finding ways to offer succor and support so they can find a place of respite here, a place to rest, a place where you don't have to do in order to earn your space at the table. What if the church kicked in for all of our potlucks so those who live really busy lives could simply show up sometimes without feeling guilty? Each of us needs to understand that we have the right to simply exist in the world. You have the right to simply exist in the world exactly as you are. The word rest must carry more weight than the word busy. So reject those Madison Avenue images of what it means to be human. They're created by people trying to coax every last resource out of your pocket. Decide what being human means to you. How will you experience this one wild and precious life? How will you choose intentionally and live fully and not get to the end going, God, I was tired the whole time. Where did it go? Here's an idea. Take 3 things off your to-do list and never put them back. Just don't do it. And as you go through those lists, really sort through the things that really have to be done and the things that you want to do, or the things that you think you should do. Take off the shoulds. Hersey wrote that rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. Rest is a form of resistance. Maybe the most subversive thing we can do in this world is create less. Maybe saying no to the relentless push of society will have far more effect than marching in another protest or attending 5 more webinars on what's wrong with the world. What if you were just take a moment to be still, to pause, to listen to the wind, to watch the trees moving back and forth? I realize for some this might be crazy talk. I have to work, I have to pay my bills, but yes, we have to do the necessary things. But I bet every single one of us could take one thing off of our list. I took the train home the other day, and I was totally astounded because everybody got off the train and waited to cross the tracks. I swear 90% of the people were just staring at their phones. Not one of them noticed the blue sky, the beautiful aromas of fall, all the things going on around us. We're so locked into this thing that we have to pay attention to every single moment. Or what? Or what we might have our lives back? Huh. We have to start with baby steps. We can't jump right in and just move out to Duluth, although I've been threatening that for a very long time. We have to get over the strangeness of feeling that I should be doing something. No, you shouldn't. You don't have to. Invite your friends over to take a nap. To dream, to watch the stars, to do less. We can't actually get off this spinning globe, but we can reclaim at least portions of our lives within it. We can refuse to participate in a society that makes people less valuable than things. We can Imagine a world that is rooted in rest, rooted in love as our core value, and stop being swept along and begin saying no. We can claim our freedom from all of the oppressions, from racial and financial and spiritual and governmental, when we collectively say no more. Isn't it great that one of the most powerful acts of resistance that we can do involves not doing anything? That might be the biggest difference we make might come from being firmly planted in a comfy chair. Happy nappings, my dear ones. Amen and blessed be. Treating each other and ourselves with care isn't a luxury, but an absolute necessity if we're going to thrive. Resting isn't an afterthought, but a basic part of being human.
Please join me in saying our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, these we carry in our hearts until we are together again.